Merry Christmas, Rachel.
Oh, hi, Alexis.
Hey.
Yes, happy Christmas to you as well. In a week's time, yes, it'll be Christmas.
Oh, yeah, less than. Certainly, we're all bringing family to mind. I love the topic that you've chosen, how to cope with Christmas challenges, Christmas conflict, family tension. Uh, I'm sure our listeners are right in the thick of it, as I'm sure you are. I know I am. And it's wonderful and rich, and there's plenty of content to work with at this time of year,
Mm.
at the very least.
There really is. And so we're going to talk about two of the major stressors or challenges at Christmas.
Mm.
And they almost seem to be not really, but this is one way that came to me, is diametrically opposed. Either we've got family around us, which many people would yearn for. And of course, for some of us, for many of us, that creates tensions and conflicts, which may be covert or overt, difficult to see, a bit invisible, or they may just be on display for everybody to see. Um, and this is very common. And even like this is common all year round for human beings. Conflict is inevitable. And at Christmas, anxiety and stress and agitation levels can go up because there are more demands on us, expectations that we put on ourselves and each other. And so conflict becomes more likely, sometimes more intense. And so we're going to talk about that, and loneliness, which is almost the opposite problem. People who, wish they had family and friends to spend the Christmas season with and don't. So let's take a needs-based approach to both of these common challenges. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. A needs-based approach. For those of you who may not have come across this terminology, you will be hearing it more and more in the psychology space. And essentially, it's valuing our emotions as indicators of our needs. So if you are experiencing conflict in the family, or as Rachel said, if you are experiencing loneliness, which I'd really like to tap into, because it's not just, as you've mentioned, that covert, that overt loneliness, but that more subtle underlying loneliness that I think we all experience at some time. A needs-based approach is acknowledging that there's value in both of these experiences, and that they both point to something that's important to you, a need or a value, or something that you're longing for or yearning for. So where would you like to start, Rachel?
Well, I'm going to put up the 4 steps of our needs-based approach, which is
That's
also called
brilliant.
nonviolent communication, for those not familiar, and compassionate communication, and needs-based communication. And I'm always thinking about this model because it's helped me so much in my life. And I'm going to share a little story from my own life, which I shared with you on the phone yesterday. Alexis, I'll share a truncated version of it, of course. But I want to bring in the psychology of clean communication, or judgment-free communication, as much as that's really hard to do in English, but as much as we can. And so I'm going to put up the 4 steps again that I've just written out here again. And the way I've written them out just now is that we want to try and use thinking and language that's observational, not judgmental. That's sort of the first major point.
By that you mean sticking to the facts rather than the fiction?
As much as we're able to, and this is tricky. The psychology of this is tricky because in the story I'll tell, a close family member of mine was calling other family members weak, and was saying to me, "You know that they're weak, don't you, Rachel?" And when I said that's a judgment, that's judgmental language, and I'd like to avoid that. I'm hoping to avoid that in our conversation. She said to me, it's just a fact. It's just a fact. So that was an interesting moment in the conversation. And my response was, I hear that as a thought and as a judgment and as an opinion, not as a fact. Someone else is weak. If if it was this person, did this thing, they had the opportunity to do A and they did B, then that's an observation. But describing it as weak, I see as, as judgmental or as a judgment. And so using this approach in my conversation 2 days ago with someone I love very much, I asked if we could try and stick with observational language, and if this family member of mine could speak her feelings and tell me what her needs were, get out of this more judgmental way of thinking and speaking.
Yeah.
Now, that didn't work like magic, because not much in psychology works like magic, but it definitely redirected the conversation. And the other person at first became defensive, saying it's not a judgment. And I pushed back a little and said, well, I hear it as your thoughts and judgments. And I'm really interested. I said it again, I'm really interested in your feelings. And I said, and it sounds like you're feeling really stressed. So I wasn't sure. I used a very general word like stressed, which I take as quite broad. Anyway, she said, yes, I am very stressed. I was like, okay, good. At least we can kind of connect over that. I said, it sounds like you're feeling under pressure. It sounds like you're feeling a bit resentful. And she said, yes, yes, yes. And then I got to this third step. So I avoided judgments again by focusing on feelings. And then I said, it sounds like you need some, I said, rest, peace, space, support. So I offered 4 needs words: rest, space, need, peace, and support. I said, is it any of those or is it something else? And she said, I think it's peace, like some peace.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was that she didn't want the other ones, but I think peace stood out most strongly for her. And so I wasn't giving her my ideas of how to fix the situation at that point. I wasn't giving her my strategies or my ideas or what are your ideas. I was just really focused on what are the intrinsic needs. And then I had a conversation with her about, well, if you're feeling stressed and a bit resentful and your need is for peace, I wonder what you could ask of these other family members, one of whom she had described as weak. And by the end of the phone call, we'd come up with some ideas which she was going to enact a few days later. There needed to be a bit of a delay, but around asking something quite actionable from these other family members, and hopefully not a demand. So I've written requests, not demands, not get out or you have to do this, but just how about this idea? So ideas aren't in this step, ideas come in this 4th step. How about this idea? You guys do this. I think it might work better for me. I think it might work better for you. What do you reckon? Let's negotiate my needs, your needs. And that's how I used this OFNR, or needs-based approach, 2 days ago to manage some family conflict, which was connected with Christmas. So I wanted to share that story because we don't have to get stuck in conflict.
What a great story. Thank you for giving us a visual prompt and the analogy, and in practice, in relationship. I love that. The observation really resonates, coming from a background in meditation. I mean, even for ourselves, if we're sitting in a social situation, coming back to observation as a first point of call, I think is a really stable anchor. Right? So I can see Rachel. I can hear there's a car passing. I can feel the weight of the blanket. Even as a personal experience, that's valuable. And then, as you say, to start with that, I can notice that you may be stressed. I can notice that there's a tone in your voice, or I can see that there's an expression on your face. So then you're encouraging this as a way of managing conflict for families.
And I wanted to really make explicit here on that skill of observation, because I agree with you. It's so foundational.
Yes.
And it's so tricky because it isn't just about observing what's happening right here, right now, in a sense, like it is in a meditative practice, because so often in conflict, interactional distress, it's about the past. You know, I think in this case, it was my mum who was sharing thoughts and judgments with me. And I know she's got the past in her memory and many memories of painful times, as we all do.
Yes.
And I know that those memories, the things she could recall or that were being memories that were being triggered by this current situation, is probably what was driving her stress and therefore driving her judgments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, this is where I think we get snagged with observation. It's
Mm-hmm.
one thing to give a statement to the police if it was a red car and, you know, it was this time of day and, you know, make observations like that. But it's when we're practicing nonviolent communication, we need to go into my recollection is, or I have a memory that, and try to be observational about our memories, which is a double challenge, because to try and stay in an observational frame with regards to our memories is extremely challenging for humans because of how our brains work. Our brains work in that emotion and memory are completely entwined. And that's survival, you know, like if our ancestors went to a part of the forest and got very frightened because they almost died, that emotion helps them remember not to go back to that part of the forest. So memory and emotion are all tangled up together. So when I am triggered into memories of the past, it's all tied up with emotion, and it makes it difficult to keep it clean and clear. Like in the past, you did this and I did this and he did that. My memories might be in the past, he was abusive to me, he was rude to me, he was weak, he was avoidant, and all of this sort of emotional judgment. I still find making observations one of the biggest challenges in terms of a psychological skill sometimes.
I agree, and particularly as you say, where there's layers of emotion, some distortion, and where there may be quite a complex situation, as there typically is with family. You know, we're often not dealing with a one-on-one relationship, but multiple.
Yeah.
So I love that you've given those words, Rachel. My recollection is, so it's owning it.
Yeah.
And it's distinguishing it from a judgment or assessment.
Yeah.
What my memory is, yes. Do you have any other phrases that our listeners might use for connecting to observations, particularly in the heat of the moment, or if they're finding, you know, emotions arising, there may be a situation of conflict. Any other phrases that they can use as anchors?
Well, as you've sort of alluded to, the skill of observing is not just observing what's happened or happening out there in the external world, but also what's happening in my mind. So yes, like I have a memory that, and I have a recollection that, and if that doesn't seem to be gaining traction, because not everything, no matter how skillful we are, we don't always get traction in a conversation. We've got to keep trying different things. Then I might go to the observation of my feelings. You know, I notice that as we speak and when you use that kind of tone or that particular word, I feel really tight and tense in my shoulders or my chest or my stomach. And, you know, I just need to breathe, take a moment. I want to connect with you. So this is getting out of observation now, I suppose, and into intention. But I guess I'm observing my intention, which is to want to open up. And actually, this is going to segue into a comment Sarah just made, which is that you can still feel lonely around family. And that is a really good point and a tricky one to address. And I did say we'd come to it. But, you know, if if I can observe my desires, my needs, my intentions or impulses to want to connect with people, or perhaps I observe my impulse to protect myself and not connect with people, we still want to stay in the observational mode of like, I notice I'm tightening up and pulling away. That'll be self-protection and survival. Just for a while, just notice and observe that. Or I may be able to observe, I actually have a desire to feel into my heart and to connect. And I could express that rather than getting caught up in the recollections and who said what. Maybe we could express, I'm noticing I really want to hear you and understand you. I'm noticing that I really want you to hear me and understand me.
Yeah.
I don't want my heart to close. I want to open my heart to you. I've said this to people in my life, like I feel my heart closing and I really don't want that. I want my heart to open. I mean, that's metaphor, but it's sort of still an observation, right? Because it's me noticing something.
Yeah, I love that level of honesty, Rachel. And you do. I love that you talk about love. I love that you talk about your heart. And I know as a dear friend that you do. It's a beautiful quality, and really let you know that, yeah, we can be brave in using language, around emotion. And as you're speaking, I'm also reminded that the I notice can be quite a valuable skill, even in kind of general terms, as in, oh, I notice it's Christmas, and there's a good vibe happening. If things are getting too intense, for example, I notice it's Christmas, and I'd like us to be close. Or I notice it's Christmas, and I'd like to have a really beautiful day. Or even as you were talking about I'm noticing a need to withdraw, a need to protect myself, a need to find distance, which can be entirely valid also. Even to speak out, look, yeah, I notice I just need a break. I notice I just need a breath of fresh air. I notice I need to use the bathroom, whatever it might be. I notice just need a breath might be enough.
Yeah, I saw a great meme yesterday called How Boundaries Sound at Christmas Time, and I might share it on our Facebook page. And it was, I'm feeling low on energy. I need to go and lie down for half an hour. These are the kind of things we might not be feeling brave enough historically to say to our friends and family, but why not? You don't have to. There's no have tos. We have have tos, we have shoulds, but they're in our mind. They're not actually real. And this is what I was saying on the radio earlier this week. Kat Davidson on ABC asked me to come on. She started the interview by saying, a lot of us are already burnt out this year. We didn't start the year on full batteries. What if we think Christmas is going to tip you over the edge? And I made this very point on the radio that if you really don't want to do something and you're going to resent it, don't do it. You don't have to go to that family gathering. You don't have to buy the expensive presents. These are shoulds, and we need to be aware of them at Christmas time as well, and come back into choice and agency. And even in these tiny little ways, like I'm noticing I need a bit of time out. I'm noticing I need to go and lie down. Sort of the thanks but no thanks kind of approach. I'm giving everyone permission here, and so are you, to be brave and honest about those kind of things. And I think there's two choices. We're either resentful because we suppress our own needs, or we be vulnerable and express our needs. And maybe we risk the other person getting disappointed or defensive, but I don't know. I prefer the latter to the former.
Yes. Very much relating to that need to express needs. Having been introduced and having worked with NVC now for a while, I'm feeling more and more brave to use my language to say, actually, I need to be heard for the way that I'm intending, to shift some stories that might be playing out in the family. Yeah, I think assertion is necessary, and to be able to use our language prevents conflict. Even though it may be initially scary, it's a safe tool to use language when I'm speaking from my experience, not blaming or judging. If I'm speaking from my experience, I can be assertive. I'm feeling better and better about that. And it's so empowering, and it does feel very powerful within the family. And I think we can advocate that, particularly as women. I know men also have the need to express needs, but I think we can advocate for that and demonstrate it to other family members that it's a valuable experience to express our needs.
It really, really is. And I want to just pick up on something you just touched into that I realize is such an important kind of preconditional frame for people when they come across this model, this needs-based model, which is that this sounds really nice. And in psychology, words like assertiveness and self-awareness also sound really nice. And in more yogic circles, there's lots of pretty words as well. The thing about pretty words and pretty ideas is that when we actually are brave enough to try them out and give them a go, we're breaking habits, we're breaking relational patterns or intra-relational patterns. And anytime we break a pattern or a habit, there can be some pushback, either inside our own psyches or in the relationship. So there's no kind of bliss to be found necessarily in these beautiful ideas of compassion and needs-based communication. I just want to say, in my experience, this is just better than the alternative. It's better than the alternative. Like on the phone with my mum, I just didn't want to collude in her judgments of these other people. And I could have, and I would have probably once upon a time. And so using this approach, this model in my conversation, it wasn't magical, like I said, and it wasn't blissful. It just eventually it de-escalated the tension in the conversation, but it didn't happen immediately either. So while expressing our needs sounds really awesome, and I do think it is awesome. But we need to realize that being honest may still lead to disappointment and may not eradicate all conflict. It's just that it's a cleaner conscience that we have, a cleaner kind of conflict, because we're not going in for the primal impulses of blame and aggression and judgment. And we may still risk both emotional exposure, but also we may risk disappointing others. But that's okay, because let's turn that around. Other people disappoint us sometimes. And I don't know about you, but I don't hate people for disappointing me. I just feel disappointed and then I get over it. I'd rather they disappoint me and honor themselves than dishonor themselves and say yes to me when deep down they mean no and end up resentful. Like, these are the alternatives. So there's no perfect answer.
Yeah, thank you for that. Look, self-disappointment is always the worst. Or disappointing. Disappointment we could actually do a whole topic on that too. But I love what you've said about the need to keep going, essentially, is what I'm hearing, is that even if it doesn't appear to be working, the outcome may not necessarily appear to be more peaceful initially. To keep going with your self-compassion, to keep practicing NVC with yourself. And this is what I'd love us to move into just now, the way that we can apply these practices with ourselves, because sometimes when we use them with others, I need peace right now. I need ease. So would you consider lowering your voice? I mean, that may be necessary in some circumstances. And even if the initial experience is scary because we're breaking a pattern, as you say, keep going. Okay, so now I feel vulnerable. Now what do I need? Wow, I need some self-soothing. I need some self-compassion.
Mm.
And now what do I need? Oh, now I feel really vulnerable. I'm reflecting on what just happened and I feel scared that I'm going to be, because I need belonging.
Yeah.
So I may need some self-talk. Okay, I can remind myself that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm part of a larger community, that this is a valuable tool and it may just take some time. Yeah, so keep going.
Yeah, good. Thank you. That's quite a, believable sequence. And the point is that this is not just a static process that you do in a discrete way. This is very fluid, this process. And there's and yeah, it's like moment to moment. And now what am I feeling? And now what do I need? And often it's a request of ourselves. What do I need from myself? I would like some more oxygen. I would like to self-soothe. I would like to take care of myself. Oh, actually, now I'd like a little bit of acknowledgement.
His voice in my ear.
There's so many ways we could potentially support our needs for ourselves or involving others. That once this becomes integrated into your way of life and into your thinking, like this is why I keep coming back to this model, because I just saw it 2 days ago on the phone in this conversation. It's just so bloody powerful because it's so hard to stay out of judgment and blame. It's so hard to stay out of my thinking, my mental constructs. It's so hard to stay out of should thinking, the demands. It's so hard because that just piggybacks on our primal instincts to fight or flight, to fight or flee. And so to get enough perspective on a situation that I can think clearly about it in a way that includes everybody's needs. Like, what an amazing set of skills to be able to learn to do that.
Totally on board. And before we move into a little bit of self-NVC, particularly around loneliness,
yes,
I wonder if you might just give a little bit of your experience about the needs of others. And you've given me really valuable examples of this, like complaints. If you've got a family member, for example, that just complains or whinges or is dissatisfied, it can be really hard to be around. And yet you've taught me, Rachel, that underneath the complaint or even the behavior, it might be that you've got that uncle that just gets completely sloshed every Christmas. Underneath that behavior, underneath those complaints, underneath that whinging is a need.
Yeah.
I wonder if you'd be willing to just provide some practical guidance on how someone might manage or use NVC, use that 4-step process to facilitate that. Because to even facilitate someone's need, even if you are being driven bat crazy.
I will give, this is a hard one. It's very, very challenging, as you've said. This is a technique that I got from someone else and adapted for myself.
Right.
When I find myself, in the unfortunate situation of being in person or, in a situation where the other person is complaining, let's say, a lot of negativity coming my way, I start my sentences with the word you and not I.
Okay.
I try to keep myself out of it because if I start saying I, then I have to follow up that sentence with I think, I feel, I reckon, I believe, I would like, and then I'm in the equation. And whether they're complaining about me or someone else, and like often it might be someone else, if I start my sentences with you and then I say something like you feel, or I imagine you feel pretty frustrated, so I'm taking empathic guesses. You feel annoyed, you feel exhausted by this. Sounds like you might like something different, like even if it's really general, right? Because sometimes I don't have enough detail to know that I to take a really specific guess. Sounds like you'd like something different.
Yeah, even that's a good one. Sounds like you'd like something different. That's a pretty foolproof. And then you're saying, look, I'm on your side. And I can hear there's something that
Yeah.
you're not happy with.
Yeah.
Sounds like you'd like something different. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Well, then it encourages, it refocuses the person's mind, or hopefully to, well, yeah. And they might say something like, yeah, well, I just wish that this person would do this instead. Oh, that's a different conversation. That's turning the coin over from what I hate to what I want.
Yes, and a shift. I'm on your side rather than wondering why you're complaining. I'm with you. I'm with you. And it puts us in a problem solving solution mindset, a growth mindset, as opposed to a perpetuating the issue.
Yeah, and sometimes there's nothing the person can do, in which case, say you are understandably deeply frustrated. I get it. I hear, like, even just saying things like,
Get
I
it?
hear your frustration. I get it.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. Just a bit of validation. Sometimes the empathy in that just relaxes the other person, and then you can refocus onto a different topic.
I get it. How about them Reds? Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to have to go in 5. So
Okay.
let's talk about loneliness as well. Actually, I just read this comment from Sarah, who says, many years ago, my sister and I watched an obnoxious drunk relative eat cat kibble on Christmas Day, thinking that they were snacks. We said nothing. It felt pretty great. Oh, that's like a little moment of lighthearted sadism. I like it, Sarah.
You are a classic. I can just imagine that scene. It does. We do revisit memories, don't we?
We do. Let's talk a bit about loneliness for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes. I wouldn't mind just spending, even if it's 30 seconds, acknowledging what loneliness is in the body, because I think it is underlying for most of us. You know, we've been fed Hollywood imagery of Christmas lights and the family coming together, the hygge, I think it's called in Scandinavia, you know, and it's a beautiful thing when it happens, but it doesn't always happen. Let's face it.
It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy that so many of us are very attached to. I'm one of them. I still have a little bit of that fantasy thinking in my psyche as well. I would love the beautiful white Christmas with everybody loving each other.
Yeah, well, we all do, and so loneliness, I would argue, is apparent for everybody at some level, and you know, particularly this Friday that's just gone. Yeah, there was a lot going on in the city. There's a lot of alcohol. There's a lot of exuberance, and while that can be beautiful and fun, my sense is that there's some avoidance, some pretty strong avoidance going on, and so being able to acknowledge the feeling of loneliness, the actual felt experience in the body, I have found, and those clients that I've shared it with have found, it helps us to be okay with the loneliness rather than needing to numb it or avoid it or dumb it down in some way. And so I'm interested in how you recognize loneliness in your body, Rachel. Some of the feeling.
I relate to what you say, as sometimes it does manifest as a restlessness or as an anxiety. I mean, to be lonely is to be anxious for many people, because we're so hardwired for community and connection, and without it we can feel quite anxious. So I think that anxiety is part of loneliness sometimes. I love what you said about recognizing it as a universal human experience. And I think that's the crucial first step, is to kind of go, this is not just my loneliness that I'm feeling in this moment. This is everybody's loneliness that they feel, at least some of the time. And so when we recognize that it's not just me, then I think we can start to take shame away. Some people feel shame about their loneliness, right? But, you know, so many people feel that, and particularly nowadays and in this Western culture. And they say that the first step to eradicating loneliness is to talk about your loneliness, which makes sense, right? Facing up to anything helps us start to deal with it. So I think admitting that we feel lonely or anxious or whatever else, finding a safe person to express that to. And I've just posted an article in the comments about, you know, how to help yourself and others when you feel lonely at Christmas. I love, some of my clients do friends Christmases because they don't have family or they don't want to see family. So they go to a park or the beach with friends. And I think that's a lovely way to do Christmas. Other people volunteer. There are things you can do to keep yourself healthily distracted and doing something meaningful or enjoyable on Christmas. So have a look at that article. And again, it's saying if you're going to be with people and feel very lonely around them, remember that you have a choice. I'm not saying don't do it or do it, but the psychology of choice is to remind yourself, this is what I'm choosing. I have a choice. I'm choosing to go and see these people, even though I know they don't have much capacity to really connect with me in the way I enjoy. I could choose not to see them. Suddenly stepping back into a sense of choice or agency, even that can help us lift our spirits a little bit. This is my choice. I'm doing this. I have to do this to myself all the time, by the way. I'm like, I'm choosing this right now. Otherwise, I feel like, oh, poor me. You know, I don't want to feel poor me. I want to feel like I have some choice here. I'm choosing to go along. I could choose not to go along. That's just a huge shift in my mind. And then I think that sets the conditions for making and taking action that will, you know, meet my needs and assuage some loneliness and anxiety.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. The irony of the moment we realize that loneliness is universal, I'm no longer so lonely.
Yes. And I just want to read a comment from Eileen who says, it also helps to acknowledge that you might be missing some people, especially at Christmas.
Those who aren't there in physical form. Yeah, of course. And that opens up other forms of connection. When I just jotted down briefly, because I know you need to sign off soon, Rachel, but when I considered the feelings of loneliness in my body, you know, there were things like empty and low and flat and even cold, feeling in the throat and the gut and the sadness, of course. But then when I kind of went a little deeper, I realized that you know, it's a sense of I feel sad because I have a longing for closeness, you know, and the fact that I have that longing means I know what that is and I have experienced that. So there's
you want that to propel you forward, not the fear. You want to be propelled forward by the need and the value.
Yes, yes. So my 3 tips for dealing with loneliness, really addressing it rather than avoiding it, would be to gently make eye contact, you know, in a way that feels easy. And we can all do that. Even if you're talking with someone who you don't really resonate with, there's always the resting of the gaze. And similarly with compassionate touch, everyone responds. We've all got bodies, we've all got eyes. So just even a light touch on someone's back can, even if they don't acknowledge it, it can help me and them experience a lack of loneliness.
Connection. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Third and final is the practice of one eye inward, so that there's a self-connection. Even if I'm surrounded, you know, by other people, that there's a part of me that's attending to my needs. And if I need to step away or distance myself, use my breath or my body sensation to do that, but I can maintain a connection with myself, so that even if I am feeling socially awkward, distant, whatever, I can receive connection from me.
I really love that. Keeping some attention internally and some attention externally. That's a practice, and you can do it if you practice it. Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that, because I think at Christmas it's especially important. So in our last 30 seconds, would you like to mention the course that you've just made available for purchase that you wrote a little while ago, Alexis?
Yeah, this is a course that I've just relaunched based on the results that we got this retreat. And it's a holistic program that I call Body Whispering, which in fact is a client coined the name, because I do find that the body responds to gentleness. So it's a 3-week program. There's an element of alignment, physical, structural alignment that comes from a yoga background. And the second component is yoga philosophy. And I I've found that when we're working with the body, and this is really where our work together has been so valuable, that the body really responds when the mind is on board. And these were some of the results that the feedback that we got from retreat was a sense of the mind and the body being together rather than, you know, the body screaming for something and the mind saying no. Just that sense of, yeah, all together, my body, my mind.
Yes.
Body whispering, I've called it. And I'll put the link below. I'm offering a discount because I'm keen to get some reviews. So I'll put the link with the discount code, and that's available until Tuesday. I'll put that in the comments below.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Alexis. I can vouch for the high quality that I know will be implicit in that program that Alexis is offering now. So that could give people something to do over the Christmas season as well, that's nurturing and caring towards self. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and lovely to talk with you. I do wish you and your family a beautiful time, festive time.
Thank
And to all
you.
our listeners, thank you for being with us this year and journeying through the mind and the body. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of you on Christmas Day. Offer still stands. So yeah, there's no need to be on your own. If you would rather be with company, show on up to my living room. And again, I'll put the details down.
And if you could post details in the, like, details for people to contact you privately for more details in the comments below, if you'd like to join the needs-based practice group or the NVC practice group, where we dive into elements of this model that I shared before of self-awareness and communication, and as well as contemplative practices, self-connection practices. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for offering that in your living room on Christmas afternoon. That's so generous of you, Alexis.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It'll be lovely.
Yeah, it will be. If I can make it, I'll come along. If people have any questions or comments and you're listening to this, not on the live later on, because I noticed we've only had 5 or 6 people live because we're doing it at a different time of day to usual. I'll check back in later on the comments and respond to them if people want to continue to comment later on today.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis.
Okay.
All right, enjoy the rest of the day.
And you. Bye.